passed San Francisco's biotech payroll tax exemption 6.5 years ago. We created hundreds of jobs through building the actual buildings, building trade jobs, and for every one PhD position in a biotech firm, we create 6 entry-level jobs. My focus is to make sure that we have housing for our families, that San Francisco is full of children once more, but that we take care of our seniors and we create as many jobs as we possibly can. Thank you for having us here tonight. I look forward to the discussion.
Good evening, my name is John Avalos, and I am running for mayor of San Francisco with all these other folks here on the dais. And I think it's such an honor and to be representing District 11. I got to San Francisco 22 years ago. I had about $1,000 in my pocket. I knew about 4 people in this city. I had a living room floor to sleep on for about 2.5 weeks before I found my own place. My first job, one of my first jobs was pouring coffee at a coffee cart downtown on Market Street. Now I'm running for mayor. Incredible that this city can offer the opportunities that I have received. And not everyone has these opportunities. And I want to make sure that our city can provide these kinds of opportunities. I'm raising a family with kids. 2 kids in public school. My wife's a public school teacher. We know firsthand what families are facing in San Francisco, and to have a mayor of this city who knows firsthand what families are facing is a good thing for San Francisco. And if we can make this city work for our families, we can make it work for everyone, and I would love to have your support for that. Thank you very much.
Mr. Duffy, followed by Mr. Herrera.
Hi, I'm Devin Duffy, and my theme is he gets the big picture because my experience has been...
Turn on the microphone, sir.
Oh, sorry. I was doing pretty good without a mic.
Or try that mic and we'll fix the level on that one.
Thanks. Take 2. I'm Devin, and I'm pleased to be here tonight. And as many of you know, I was Director of Neighborhood Services for 5.5 years, and so I've always found that an angry customer was my best asset and helped me to see the city as I should from the standpoint of how effective we are in delivering the services that make the city great. And so I believe that it's the everyday challenges that individuals, families, businesses face that build up to the big picture of a better and stronger city. And so I'm really looking forward to being mayor. And particularly in this part of town, I've talked a lot about a black agenda for San Francisco. And I know that whether you're black or not, living in the southeast sector, you're aware of the problems that have taken place and the indifference that has happened in Baby Hunters Point, the hopefulness that we have, but the extent to which our city has to work hard together to build black businesses again, to help build capacity of organizations, and to change the direction for a lot of the lives of young people so that they're not in the criminal justice system but are going to 4-year schools and becoming the scientists of tomorrow. Thank you.
Mr. Herrera, and then Ms. Long.
Good evening, everybody. I'm Dennis Herrera, and I've had the good fortune of living here for 25 years, but 18 of those years being a neighbor of all of you, living in Dogpatch. And it's a real honor for me to be here back in the neighborhood. It's always great to have one of the last events of the night to be here in Potrero Hill. And as I've gone around the city and talked with many of you and had the opportunity to work with many of you, I've talked about the importance of this election. I've said that I think that this is the most important marriage race we've had in 20 years, and the most important marriage race that we're going to have for the next 20. And that is because of the unique challenges and opportunities that San Francisco finds at its feet. Many of those directly impacting what goes on here in Potrero Hill, Dogpatch, and as we move south into Baby Hunters Point, whether it be economic development, community development, safe streets, schools. Those are issues that we are focusing on, particularly in the southeast sector, as things move south down along 3rd Street. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to speak with you all tonight, and I look forward to the conversation. Thanks very much.
This will quite much be okay too.
Good evening, my name is Terry Joan Baum. I am a pioneer lesbian playwright. I've written about gay rights, medical ethics, anti-Semitism, the eternal pursuit of love and romance in my plays, have been produced all over the world and translated into many languages. I began in progressive politics in 1970 when I was the personal assistant to the legendary Bella Abzug, who was running for the very first time for U.S. Congress in Manhattan. And I'm a passionate citizen who believes that we cannot go on doing business as usual. We call cutting things to the bone and giving tax breaks to corporations realistic. I believe that there is a deeper realism about a sustainable and humane city, and I believe that many San Franciscans agree with me, and that is why I'm running for mayor. Thank you.
We believe the stage right microphone is safe for human use, so if we think all three mics are okay now. One was a little too loud, we think it's all right. We'll find out. We're now in the first round of questions. The first round of questions are on the subject of creating careers for San Franciscans, questions on jobs and the economy. The first question will be from Ms. Elliott here. The second question is from Mr. Robles. You can ask anyone you want. 30 seconds to ask the question, 90 seconds to answer.
Thank you, Tony. I'll ask David Chu this question. CPMC is one of the large developments that is on San Francisco's horizon. What will happen with CPMC is kind of up in the air. What are your feelings for CPMC, the hospitals in town, and job growth and how that might affect the city's economy?
Thank you for that question again. CPMC is an incredibly important institution in our community, and I share the perspective that the hospital needs to be rebuilt. That being said, it needs to be rebuilt in the right way, and I know there have been many conversations in recent months of community coalitions coming together to make sure that those who don't have access to healthcare have it, as we consider consolidating the number of hospitals we have. That we deal with all of the planning, the transit, the housing issues that come around that major development project, as we will be demolishing housing and bringing in thousands of folks into an already dense part of the city. And so I have committed publicly, and I have been taking part in trying to move the various stakeholders to literally sit down together to use hopefully a community-based agreement process to negotiate their way to actually build that hospital that needs to be rebuilt given the seismic requirements that the state has placed on us. I also though think we have to make sure that St. Luke's, which is part of that broader conversation, that institution remains a viable institution taking care of the healthcare needs of this part of town. And I'm very committed to making sure that happens, and I have had concerns that the development of such a large hospital at CPMC at the Van Ness and Geary corner will undercut the ability for St. Luke's to stay viable, and that is something that I would not support. I want to make sure that both institutions remain healthy and strong.
Mr. Avalos, the next question after that would be Ms. Reese.
Thank you. This is a question for David Chu. I'm really concerned about how the city is really most evolved for the wealthy and the most powerful interests of San Francisco. And you and I had differences about the tax break that mostly benefited Twitter. I actually believe that that was just another example of how the city's working for the most powerful and wealthiest. And I was opposed to it. Please tell us why you supported that measure and what you think you will do in the future to prevent these types of measures from happening.
I was a proud supporter of keeping Twitter in town, and let me give you a little bit of context. We all know that the mid-market 10-to-1 area has been blighted for decades. As a city, we've attempted to create jobs there, but that area, unfortunately, has just been seeing record rates of unemployment, of vacant storefronts, of crime. When Twitter came to us last year and said that they were going to have to leave the city unless we were able to help them, what I told them was we can't create a tax incentive specifically for Twitter, the company, but I was willing to explore a geographic-based tax incentive in that mid-market area to deal with the blight that we have. Now, on top of that, we also know that if Twitter had actually left San Francisco, it would have been a $500,000 hit to our budget immediately. With Twitter staying in San Francisco, even with the tax incentive that they've been provided, our independent economic analyses show that we will see millions of additional dollars of tax revenues because of all of the other companies that are going to be staying here in San Francisco. We've lost literally tens of thousands of San Francisco jobs, hundreds of companies in recent years. In fact, just today, I was at 6th and Market as part of an announcement of yet another entity that's going to be staying in San Francisco, in the mid-market area. This tax incentive program is keeping not just tech companies here, but is keeping artists, nonprofit organizations, small businesses here. And I think that's an important part of our economic ecosystem.
Next question is Ms. Reese, followed by Ms. Vaughn.
My question is to John Ellis. John, you have taken a real leadership role in proposing local hire legislation, and I support all efforts that are going to get our local residents back to work. In the process of looking at that, I know that there's been some gaps in terms of skill set for our residents related to being able to get access to these jobs. And I'm curious what your plans are for job training for our residents so they can take advantage of the local hire.
Great, thank you. Thank you for your question. Just to talk about, first of all, how we were able to pass the local hire ordinance. A lot of folks thought that we were never going to be able to pass it, but part of the work of getting it done was working closely with a lot of organizations and communities across San Francisco, labor organizations, community organizations in the Asian community, the Latino community, and the African American community, contractors, large and small. And we really felt that we had to have a strong emphasis on looking at all the trades that do construction. And so it puts a real emphasis on the city that we have to do great workforce development programs. And this is the missing piece for local hires, that we have not yet put the adequate resources in to do the job training work that we need to do. And that's one area that I want to move on directly. I think Ed Lee has initiated that, but he's hit some roadblocks. We need to make sure that our City Build program is going to be really effective in reaching out to communities across San Francisco and helping them get various skills to meet our different building trades needs. We also need to make sure that we're supporting our community-based organizations around here, like Potrero Hill Neighborhood Center is actually one of the feeders for the City Build program, to be able to actually get that job training work that we need to do to make sure that our local hire ordinance is successful and that people are ready to get into the workforce for the construction trade that will be enabled when we see the increased amounts of employment rising with the ordinance.
Ms. Vaughn, followed by Mr. Chu.
Yes, this question is for Dennis Herrera. When 30,000 citizens in the Bayview and Hunters Point signed petitions to overturn a city decision to give a large tract of land to the Lennar Corporation for development, you refused to allow their initiative to reach the ballot. Will you continue to favor large corporations over the will of the people if you are elected mayor?
Terry, I think you need to familiarize yourself a little bit more with what the role of the city attorney is and with what the state of the law was. We advise our clients, and the elections department asked for our advice with respect to whether the law was followed, with respect to whether the signatures that were gathered, whether they qualified for the ballot, whether the signatures were collected according to the law. That's one of the things about being city attorney. You have to call it like you see it. You call things based on the facts and the law, even when it might be politically unpopular. And I know that there are a lot of individuals that put a lot of work into going out and getting signatures. But the franchise, the right to vote is a precious thing, the integrity of which has to be protected at all costs. And there was absolutely no doubt in my mind that I had to make the tough call, saying that the law was not complied with when those signatures were gathered. And that went all the way up to the California Supreme Court, and the decision was validated, as unfortunate as it may have been. That's what being a city attorney is making the tough calls. I was disappointed. I know a lot of people put a lot of hard work into that, but the law is the law, and you have to call it like you see it, and that's what I did in that case.
Mr. Chu, then Mr. Duffy after that.